Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and this is the In Deep on the Delta fishing report for May 20th. And we're going to really just kind of cut through the striper report, and we're going to concentrate on largemouth bass today. I didn't get a chance to talk to Captain Jeff from Suhu Sport Fishing, but he has been slamming the fish out here for the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure he's slamming them this week. The reports from the shops, all of their customers are catching fish, and there's a better class of fish in the Delta. Lots of reports, well, not lots of, but a good number of reports of fish being caught in that 20 to 25 pound range. So stripers are fishing well out here. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know you guys are more interested in largemouth bass, and it's really coming into its own, the largemouth bass fishing. So let's get right into the largemouth bass. I want to start off with water conditions, and they are perfect. 70 to 72 degrees, 3 to 5 feet visibility. We've got a little bit of, we've got more than a little bit of breeze, but it's spring and we have to deal with the wind and the breeze out here. It's not terrible. Today it's probably blowing 10 to 15. I'm in a place that's out of the wind. If you have trouble fishing in the wind, you can always find a place on the Delta where you can get out of the wind. But a lot of times the wind is your friend out here. So fishing conditions are perfect, and it is go time on the Delta for largemouth bass. Unfortunately, no one's told the largemouth bass that it's go time. So some days for them it's go time, some days it's not. Let's talk about the Toyota Major League Fishing Tournament that they held here on the Delta last week. 71 boats, not a big field, but you have to remember, these guys are professional fishermen, some of the biggest names in the United States, some of the best local sticks. These guys are no joke. They're out here fishing the Delta. They know what they're doing, and they know how to put fish in the boat. What I want to talk about is what the guys in the middle of the pack did. So we're going to talk about the middle of the pack, and we're going to talk about the amateurs. Middle of the pack, 35th place in the pros, had 14 pounds a day. That is tough fishing here on the Delta for this time of year. 14 pounds a day for a professional fisherman that's out here doing everything he can. The amateurs, their middle of the pack was about 7 pounds. And again, you have to remember, the amateurs are amateurs maybe in theory only. Most of these amateurs are pretty darn good fishermen and probably could fish the pro side if they wanted to put out the money. They're fishing the back of the boat, so they're not going to have as big a bag as the pros. But you have to remember, they're with the pro and they were in prime water all day fishing as hard as they can for a paycheck, and they're picking up 7 pounds of fish. So all in all, the fishing is pretty darn tough out here on the Delta. I am going to get into what I have been doing, and I have found the fishing to be more and more consistent, and everyone that I talk to, it's across the board. There are people that are still struggling mightily, and there are some people that are coming out and having really good days. The first thing we have to think about is the largemouth bass are across the board in all phases of spawn. Most of them are probably post-spawn, but there's still fish spawning. There are fish that are recovering from spawn. There's probably going to be some fish still in pre-spawn that will be spawning in June, but the majority of the fish are either spawned or post-spawn. And the big female bass seem to be, the large majority of the big female bass seem to be in a recovery mode, meaning that they've dropped their eggs. You'll see a lot of fry around the Delta, which is telling you that some of these fish have successfully spawned, but the bigger females are not recovered yet, so they're not really, they want to feed, but they're just not physically ready to start feeding real aggressively. And remember that, because it's going to have something to do with what we have been seeing out here and the way the fish have been the bigger fish have been taking bait. So remember, the bigger fish are not fully recovered physically from the spawn. The males are really getting on here, especially the small fish, the 10 to 12 inches. You can catch those in the shallows all day long if you can get in the right spot. The fish that we're looking for are the bigger males, which are about 1.5 pounds to 3.5 pounds. And those are fun fish, and they're getting really aggressive too. So for the guys that are having trouble picking up fish, we're going to look at those fish real close. And I'm going to tell you how I've been getting a lot of those 1.5 to 3.5 pound fish. And as I'm doing this, I'm getting some bigger bites. I'm losing some fish just like everyone else, but I know in the next couple of weeks the bigger fish are going to start coming. So here are the 4 rods that I have been keeping on my deck, and we'll go over how I've been fishing them and why I've been fishing them. I've been fishing 2 topwater baits, a River to Sea Whopper Plopper and a River to Sea Bubble Walker. Now you can substitute the Whopper Plopper for a buzz bait. You can substitute, or any fast moving topwater bait, you can substitute the Bubble Walker for any popper style bait. I'm using 2 topwater baits for a good reason. They're starting to hit topwaters, and when they are hitting, when they're aggressive and they're coming up to take the Whopper Plopper, I mean they are coming up and wrecking that thing. I mean they're just stopping the bait. That rod is bending over, and it's just an exciting way to fish. Now, are they doing that all day long? No. I'm getting 2, 3, 4 bites a day, but it's getting better and better. I want 2 topwater baits on because this is covering a lot of water, and I'm able to show it to hundreds of fish, and I'm just looking for that 1 out of 100 that's going to come up and hit it. Now, if I find that they're aggressive enough to come up to topwater, but I'm seeing fish that are missing it or coming up and refusing it, and that's another point. Using topwater baits or your chatterbait, which I'll be talking about soon, keep a visual eye on that, and I think you're going to start to see fish following these things and refusing them, or coming up to the boat and turning around, and that's giving you an idea that maybe if they're refusing a Whopper Plopper, they will take a walking bait, and that's why I'm using the walking bait to pick up some of the fish that aren't quite aggressive enough to take the fast moving bait, but they're still looking towards the surface, and they'll take a more a slower moving bait. So those are the 2 topwater baits that I'm using. I'm not catching fish out in open water on these baits. I'm catching fish with very precise casting and trying to bump tules, trying to bump a log, whatever I'm fishing for. And it's mostly tule clumps. Most of the bigger fish are holding out in tule clumps. We'll go over that in a minute also. So precise casting even on your topwaters. And I can't stress enough how important that precise casting is. You'll catch a few fish on the topwaters out over flats and things, but you're going to catch a lot more fish when you're really moving them through as close to vegetation as you can. Now, there's 2 baits that I'm not going to mention that are really good right now too. It's just that I am not fishing those 2 baits. One of them is punching, and one of them's frog fishing. I'm just not throwing those because I'm catching enough fish. I'm having fun. I'm not fishing for a tournament. If I was fishing for a tournament, I would definitely be punching, and I'd definitely be throwing a frog. So if you love that type of fishing, make sure you keep those in your arsenal. But for now, we got those 2 walking baits, or 2 topwater baits, a green pumpkin chatterbait. Everyone in the Toyota tournament that was in the top 10, I think, that mentioned anything about a bait they were using was a green pumpkin chatterbait. Another reaction bait, and it is a bait that the fish will take when as a reaction bait when they're not taking the topwater. Again, if I see a couple fish come up and miss my topwater, or they come up and turn around, this is the first bait that I go to. And a subsurface bait, a subsurface reaction bait may draw the strike where the topwater doesn't. So keep one of these on all the time. These will pull big fish for you. Last but not least, when they slow down, I'm going to a Senko or a cut tail worm, just a wacky rigged or a drop shot. I've been throwing wacky rigs. A few important factors when throwing the worms if you're not having great luck. Extend your cast. Make sure your boat is positioned far enough away from your target to extend the cast. The fish are getting more and more, I'll just say they're difficult to catch. They're not giving up the fight real easy. And I think they're getting more and more boat shy, and I think they're getting spooky because of all the sea lions and the otters that are coming in, and they're just seem to be on edge. So the farther you keep your boat away and the more precision cast you can get with this worm, and I'm talking inches. If you're a good caster, get better. If you're a better caster, get great. But the more precise you can be with your cast, the better off you're going to be, the more fish you're going to catch. Now, where are we throwing these worms? Mostly on tule clumps that are offshore. So if you have an island and you've got a flat and you maybe out 20, 15, 10 feet from the bank, you see these offshore tule growths, and there may be they could be 3 or 4 feet around, they could be 10 feet around. That's where the bigger fish are holding. That's where a lot of the big males are holding, and the females are holding on the outside edge of those, and they're holding especially in areas that have very shallow water next to very deep water. And I think it's because they're getting used to these sea lions and things coming around. Their predators are pushing them out of the places that they like to be, and if they have deep water or real deep or real heavy cover vegetation, they can move into that vegetation, or they can just make a real quick dart out to the deep water. So make sure you are casting right into the tules. If you're throwing a chatterbait, hang up in the tules every now and then. If they're sparse enough where you can throw on the other side of the tules and bring it through the tules, or you got a whopper plopper or something, if you can get in and you've got a little lane that's that wide somewhere in that tule berm, get it out there and try to throw it in that lane and bring it right through the tules. The more things that you can bump, the more fish you're going to catch, and the bigger fish you're going to catch. Also with the worms, the small fish will take them, bam, bam, they're on. The bigger fish, they want it soaked longer, they want it dead stick, and they're going to pick up very lightly. A lot of times you'll just try to make contact with the bait, and you'll feel that rod tip load up. That's the fish. You set the hook, and I never felt them bite. So that is the report here for May 20th. The fishing is, I'd have to say it's good, but you really have to work for these fish. There's no tide, specific tide, that you're going to catch all the fish on. Slack tides are very slow, but anywhere in the incoming or outgoing tide, as soon as you get that moving tide, the fish can start biting anytime. So it's really important to have a little stamina out here right now. If you come out and fish for 4 hours and you don't catch a fish, you go home, with your head hung down, and you got to really fish through that tide, because sometime during the tide they're going to pick up. Rotate your baits. They are taking top waters all day long. It's just the certain day or certain tide that you're out here. So rotate through your top waters, through your chatterbaits, and through your worms, and you guys will catch fish. Thank you guys so much for watching, and for the viewers out there that watch a lot of my, we'll say, instructional videos. I'm going to do a quick video after this, and I want to have you guys tune in. I'm going to let you know what I've been up to, why I've been doing the videos that I've been doing, and what I'm going to do, some of the changes I'm going to be making real soon. So you guys that are hardcore listeners to In Deep on the Delta and have been watching my how-to videos, stick around, look up In Deep on the Delta, what do we call it? In Deep on the Delta update. And that's going to tell you what's coming down the pipe here in the next couple months. And I am going to be making some changes. So, something just hit something out of the tules. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next week. If you're out here on the water and you see me, make sure you say hi. Good luck, guys.